There's a part of you that you probably hide from everyone. Dark thoughts, secret desires, maybe some weird fantasies. But what if I told you that psychology has actually proven these thoughts don't make you a bad person? Nope, they just make you human. Today, we are diving deep into that forbidden territory, the desires that pretty much everyone has, but society tells us we absolutely shouldn't. This is where the brilliant psychologist Carl Jung comes in. He had a name for this, the shadow self. It's all the parts of our psyche that we try to push down and suppress. But here's the thing. Denying these desires doesn't make them vanish. In fact, it's kind of like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. The more you push it down, the more forcefully it's going to burst back up to the surface. As Jung put it, wholeness means acknowledging our darkness. So let's go ahead and explore that shadow. All right, let's start with our first desire, schadenfreude. You know that little secret spark of satisfaction you feel when someone who totally wronged you finally fails? We're taught that it's petty, right? But get this, brain imaging studies, like one from Princeton, show our brain's pleasure centers literally light up when this happens. From an evolutionary perspective, it was a signal that the social order was being corrected. So the taboo isn't the feeling itself, it's that we all pretend we don't feel it. Okay, next up is a desire that's, well, even more unsettling for a lot of people. L'appel du vide, which is French for the call of the void. It's that bizarre fleeting thought you get when you're on a high balcony, what if I just jumped? Or when you're driving, what if I just swerved into oncoming traffic? It sounds absolutely terrifying, but a study found that over half of us experience these thoughts. So what is going on here? Is there something wrong with us? The answer, and this might really surprise you, is no. Psychologists actually think it's a clever little safety mechanism. Your brain is running a quick, shocking simulation of a terrible choice to make you more aware of the danger and to really reinforce your decision to stay safe. It doesn't mean you're suicidal, it just means your brain is working overtime to protect you. Pretty cool, right? Now, we're entering one of the most private territories of the mind, sexual fantasies that seem to completely contradict who we are. A major study from the University of Montreal found that a staggering 85% of people have them. So why? Well, it's because fantasy is a safe, totally consequence-free zone for our brains to process complex, symbolic, and yeah, even taboo ideas. And here's a critical distinction we all need to remember. Fantasy is not action. A thought is not a crime. In fact, research shows that when you actively try to suppress a thought, psychologists call this thought suppression, it actually makes it pop up more often and even more intensely. The shame we attach to these thoughts, that's what often causes more harm than the thoughts themselves. Have you ever just wanted to disappear? New name, new city, a total reset? You are definitely not alone. The APA found that 40% of adults have this fantasy. And this isn't about not loving your family or your life. It's really about the psychological exhaustion of all your roles, employee, parent, partner. That fantasy is just about a moment of relief from that constant identity. So what about aggression? While we've built this incredibly complex civilization, our primal instincts for dominance haven't just vanished. They just find other outlets. A study from UCLA found that people who mindfully acknowledge their aggressive thoughts are actually way better at managing them than those who just pretend they don't exist. This leads us right to another one of those 7 deadly sins, envy. We're taught it's toxic, and sure, it can be. But from an evolutionary point of view, it's basically a status monitoring system. It's a part of social comparison. We automatically figure out where we stand compared to others. A Stanford study even revealed that when we admit to our envy, we can transform that social data from bitter resentment into powerful motivation. It tells you what you value, and that can become fuel for your own ambition. And now, for Freud's most controversial idea, thanatos, the death drive. Now, this isn't necessarily a desire to die, but more of a deep, unconscious pull towards destruction and release. It helps explain self-sabotage, why we stay in bad relationships or procrastinate on our most important goals. It's that little part of us that just craves relief from the constant tension and effort of simply being alive. So, what connects all of these forbidden desires? Well, it's a core conflict, and it's illustrated perfectly here. Part of our brain is still that primal, territorial, status-seeking animal we evolved from. But another part is the modern human, trying to be moral, cooperative, and civilized. Our forbidden desires live right there, in the friction between these two powerful forces. And that brings us full circle, right back to Jung's profound insight. The shadow self isn't evil. It's just the parts of our own nature we've been taught to reject. Pushing it down, denying it exists, that only makes it darker and more powerful. Research on psychological integration shows that people who actually acknowledge their dark thoughts have better mental health. So, what are we supposed to do? It's really a three-step process. First, just acknowledge the thought or the feeling without judging yourself for it. Second, get curious. Investigate why it's there. What's it trying to tell you? And third, consciously choose your response. The statement, "I acknowledge this desire and I choose not to act on it," is infinitely more powerful than pretending the desire doesn't even exist. Ultimately, if you take away just one thing, let it be this: you are not your thoughts. The difference between a healthy person and an unhealthy one isn't the presence of dark desires. It's the ability to face them with total honesty. Acknowledging your shadow is the first and most critical step toward mastering it. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. If this knowledge is the key to psychological freedom, which part of your own shadow have you been denying? Facing it isn't about giving in. It's about taking your power back. It's the very first step to becoming whole.